Hello, it's Callan from Authentic Lifestyle Design, and today I want to talk to you about the importance of consistency. So, we're currently in February, we've had January, and chance is you made some New Year's resolutions. Now, have you followed through on those? Statistically, the chance is no, because statistically, most people give up whatever that resolution was within the first week, right? Because we as humans, we like to put things off. Say you want to go on a diet. Instead of saying I'm going to go on a diet starting now or tomorrow, it's I'll go on a diet next week. Or I'll go on a diet after this holiday period. Something along those lines. Now, you see a lot of people do this. They commit to exercise or diet or something. They'll do it for maybe a couple of weeks, if they've even got the discipline to do that. And then they just give up, right? Consistency is the key to success, and consistency is the thing that's going to project you from, I guess, average to going beyond that. So if you want to build an extraordinary life, that's not really going to be possible unless you can be consistent with whatever it is you want to master and become in that top 5% for. Now, I guess it's a good thing for you, but a bad thing for humanity, that on average, human beings are not very consistent, right? Your average human really isn't that consistent. They struggle to commit to something. So it's important there to consider that if you are consistent, if you can commit to something every day and to keep smashing that out, you're already leaving your competition in the dust. That's already going to put you up in that top little bracket of awesomeness, right? So the journey to achieving your goals is a marathon, not a sprint. It's pretty rare that someone achieves rapid success within a few weeks or a few months. Often it's something that takes years, and it's something that takes daily discipline and daily commitment in order to achieve. Discipline is so important, and it's something that we as human beings aren't really good at unless we train ourselves to be good at it. Because you think of it from the point of view of your brain. Your brain doesn't really care if you're successful, beyond having your survival needs met, having food and a roof over your head and all the rest of it, right? So, to your animalistic brain, it makes no difference if you make, say, $40,000 a year and have all your basic needs met, or if you make $500,000 a year. Your brain is pretty well the same, at least the animalistic part of it. Now, the frontal part of the brain, or the part that creates the ego, you, which is your sense of self, that part of the brain that wants success has to kind of tame the animalistic brain. The same as how you would tame an animal in real life, how you would train a dog or something like that. You need discipline in order to internalize habits, right? So for example, you have a streak. Say you go to the gym or something. For my example as a martial artist, say I go to training. Say I train, 10 days in a row, and I have a day off. All of a sudden I'm going to feel bad for having that day off. But if I train for one day, then I take a week off, and then I train for 2 days, and then I take another week off, and so on, that momentum isn't really going to build. You train your mind. It's what you do that counts, not so much what you think. Because you see, a lot of people fall into this trap, and I know I fell into it many times, where you talk about doing amazing things. And people go, wow, that's incredible that you're doing that. And it gives you this nice little dopamine rush, because we're all driven by dopamine. That's what motivates us. Little neurotransmitter up there that makes us feel good when we achieve things. So, essentially, that is your fuel. That's what drives you, right? And you realize today that dopamine is everywhere. And someone's saying, whoa, that's so good. That's going to give you a dopamine rush. But what have you done? Nothing. You've just talked about doing something, right? And a lot of people, because heaps of people want to be successful in different things, but only a small portion of people are ever going to achieve that. Most of the success is concentrated into that top 5% or that top 10% in a lot of industries. They're the people that are getting the success or the money or the recognition or the other things that you might be chasing, right? Even fulfillment within yourself, doing something like a meditation practice to work on that, to work on mindfulness and balance, even that requires a discipline and to shape your internal self. And you look now with dopamine, it's so easy to access, right? Naturally, back when we were cavemen, The natural ways to achieve dopamine were basically meeting survival needs. So that would be if you wanted food, if you got access to food or shelter, or you found a romantic partner to procreate with, anything like this, right? Those are the natural things that would fill you with dopamine. Now we have phones, which is what I'm recording this on right now, which is essentially an endless stream of dopamine, right? Food's cheap. It's way easier access to food than we've ever had, right? So between technology, phones, video games, other things you can do, right? We don't need to talk about here. You can basically go onto this binge that will never end, right? This never-ending dopamine binge, which is going to constantly have those dopamine receptors triggering, but it's also going to fry them out. So those natural things that used to, get you places and motivate you, all of a sudden, an apple in a tree that you'd have to climb seems less tempting. It seems like more work, right? Because why climb the tree to get the apple when you can go to the shops to get the apple, right? And essentially that mentality grows and your dopamine becomes less. Now, consistency can come down to discipline, because essentially you have to force yourself to do things you don't want to do. I mean, I don't doubt that there's going to be days with these videos where I couldn't be stuffed recording them. But the important thing is I'm consistent, that I keep recording them, that I keep growing this, because if I want to grow this in the way I do, and I want to help the people I want to help, it's important that I'm consistently putting my message out into the world, right? It's important that I'm consistently learning. It's important that I'm consistently growing as a human being and doing courses and reading books and talking to people and traveling and all these things. It's really important, right? Consistency is essential. Consistency is the fuel. You look at any successful person that didn't inherit that success, that had to earn it, that had to grow into it. Any of these people, they had to push hard. They had to be consistent. At least for some period of their lives, they might have even had to neglect other areas in order to really push what it was they wanted to build. And that's just how it is. If you want success in anything, consistency is the key that's going to get there. Most people can't do it. Most people give up, right? If you can be that person that doesn't, if you can be that person that keeps pushing, and you can get out of bed on a day where you really don't want to, and you can go and do that thing that's going to build you into who you are, then you're flying. Also, you have to learn to enjoy that journey, the progression, right? Because we're always thinking in the future, which is a trap. If you think in the future, one day you might even achieve that goal. You realize it's a short-lived high, and then you're back to the grind, or you're back to back to normality. Like most lottery winners, right? They statistically aren't actually that much happier than before they got the money. Some are more depressed, right? Because you normalize, It normalizes. If you achieve a bunch of success and all of a sudden you're rich, and say beforehand you had financial, stability, now you're rich, your happiness isn't going to be 10 times higher if you make 10 times more money. It doesn't work like that. You will stabilize. You will grow used to the conditions, right? So you have to learn to fall in love with the process, to fall in love with the day-to-day, and to keep doing what it is you want to do and keep building what it is you want to build, regardless of how long it takes to build success, or if it ever even becomes successful. The idea or the mentality I would have is I'm going to keep uploading these videos and keep putting myself out there, regardless of if something happens. Because it's that consistency, and it's falling in love with the process, falling in love with the movement of doing that thing, right? And having the discipline and having the determination to do that even on days when I don't want to. And you can do that and you might achieve amazing things, or you can be like the masses and not do that and probably live a life that you're not completely fulfilled with and that you don't necessarily want to be living. There's probably things out there you want that are completely achievable, but you don't have that motivation and consistency to go and get them. So you have to train your brain. It takes about 2 months to ingrain a new habit of daily practice. After that, it'll become easier. It'll become more normal. It'll just become a part of your routine. but pushing through that's important. And using strategies like the 25-5 method, for example, which is 25 minutes of deep work on one thing and then 5 minutes of rest. And you repeat that cycle, because multitasking consciously or focus, because your body can multitask, it runs various things at the same time, but your primary focus can only be on one thing at once. You cannot multitask. It is impossible for a human to multitask. Now, you can switch between things so quickly that it feels like you're multitasking, but you're putting all that energy into different things, which is going to make you less effective at one thing. So I hope this video helped, and that you can try to be more consistent in your life as I'm trying to do in mine. If you like this content, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be uploading 2 or 3 videos a week. I'd say Mondays and Wednesdays and probably Fridays.